You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and in this episode of the vidcast, I plan on discussing a couple of things that were brought to my attention by Pharaoh Steve, which is at Pharaoh Steve on Twitter, and he also has a YouTube channel for gaming, so be sure to check him out there. He suggested that I talk about Battlefield 1's social media controversy, which that's a fun one. Deadpool's director going for a Sonic movie. Disappointing sales of Titanfall 2. Let's just get into it. So on Friday, October 28th, the Battlefield account went through asking people, does their squad have big plans for the weekend? And then it shows random images which are kind of distasteful. Mind you, I play Battlefield 1, I play Battlefield 4, I enjoy the games. However, the text that goes with these are very distasteful. Like, they got a guy with a flamethrower going, when you're too hot for the club, and they're burning people alive. Or when you have a couple of soldiers standing around with a Zeppelin coming down, and, you know, it says, when your squad is looking on point, and there's a bunch of death and destruction around you. Another one goes, basking in the glow of a burning airship, and you see the Zeppelin coming down, being fully destroyed. Yeah, it's things like that that are kind of a little bit wrong, being that it's World War I, and it actually happened. It's not like it's an actual, like it's just a game. This is based off of a lot of realistic World War I stuff. And I see that it's wrong in that instance, although they deleted most of the tweets and apologized for it. I just don't see how it was a good idea to post all of that, being that it was distasteful. And I know it sounds kind of hypocritical playing the game, and I enjoy it, but it's not. When you play the single player, they actually tell you that, you know, these events happened, they're horrific, people died, and it gives you, like, people that actually died in the war. Whereas the multiplayer is just run and gun. But yeah, I don't see where it comes through as like tasteful there, so I'm not really sure what they were thinking there. So going into Deadpool and Sonic the Hedgehog, Tim Miller decided to step down from Deadpool, and he's developing an adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog for Sony Pictures. I'm kind of interested to see Sonic come to the big screen, although if this is going to be the only way that Sonic gets revitalized, I see it as being a film, because the animated series nobody's cared about since the Jaleel White Sonic the Hedgehog in the 90s, which the games were hot around that time, and really there hasn't been a good Sonic game since the 90s. I mean, you could argue some of the 3D World ones were good, but I couldn't get into them after Sonic 3. I was pretty much done. I mean, I did Sonic CD, Sonic and Knuckles, stuff like that, but yeah, I'm not really sure what is going to go on with this series here. It's kind of an odd choice for Tim Miller to move from something as iconic and great as Deadpool, but I get that he wanted a different vision than what Ryan Reynolds wanted for the Deadpool second film, so I can see where the creative differences caused him to move somewhere else, but it should be interesting to see what they do with Sonic, although from what I hear, it's supposed to be much like Smurfs in having CG live action mixture, which is just going to be weird. I would love for them to actually tackle like the old, like dark 90s Sonic the Hedgehog series, and do that like in high def CG. I just think that could be really good. So an interesting thing with Titanfall 2, EA kind of forecasted around 9 million units, which isn't really realistic anymore. In their efforts to rectify the original Titanfall shortcomings by incorporating a more fleshed out single-player experience, the sequel title is now projected to record a 50% drop in unit sales over its predecessor. Now, mind you, I don't really care for Titanfall, only because I haven't played it. I have no real opinion of the game, but I think that part of the reason the projections could be lower is because everybody got to play the crap out of it on the betas, and just didn't maybe care for it, or it just didn't. I don't know. I'm not really sure why it would go down so far, but it's basically it's an EA problem, most definitely, because EA seems to do that on certain projects. Now, Battlefield, I think that with their alpha and their beta, they gave us enough of a taste and enough of a working of it that people just wanted to get their hands on it. I was fortunate enough to get into the alpha, the beta, and get the free trial and play that. So I definitely was well off in the game, getting to play a lot of it over the past almost 6 months. So I right now, like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure where to go as far as this Titanfall thing. Side note though, Mass Effect Andromeda, which I'm a fan of the Mass Effect series because Mike the Birdman Dodd from thisweekingeek.net got me hooked in the series. I find this series to be entertaining, and although this is kind of a reboot of the universe, being that Shepard and everything that happened at the end of the third one, it's a new galaxy, new crew, and a lot of other new things. They did manage to put out a casting call in September for 2 characters that were kind of minor roles. But there's a contest on that ended end of September, and they're supposed to let people know by the end of November whether they got cast or not, and then fly them out to LA to re-record the lines in a studio if they chose those people, which I auditioned for that as well because I genuinely enjoy the series, and I would like to kind of, it would be cool to have my name and kind of be in the game, just as a character that gets to be talked to by whoever the lead is. But it says that during EA's latest financial briefing, they stated that the publisher is willing to delay the release of Mass Effect Andromeda if it is not ready in time, which that I have no problem if companies delay games because of issues. I would rather see a polished game come out, and as long as it's not playing the Duke Nukem Forever card of, oh yeah, we'll be out in 6 months, and then it's like 10, 15 years later it comes out. As long as it's not doing that, I think that we're in good shape. But yeah, I mean, if they had to delay it at least a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. It says that they're shooting for a March 2017 launch date, but they'll have more information on that soon. Honestly, I wouldn't care if it took till later in the year, but that's just me. I'm going to be hooked on Battlefield 1 for the time being. So like I have no money to even buy Battlefield 1, so I'm waiting until Black Friday to find out if it's going to even go on sale. Which if it does, I'm going to be streaming the crap out of that game. I've been playing Battlefield 4 again lately and kicking pretty good butt, but because of Battlefield 1 and me learning how to use the dynamite in Battlefield 1, it allowed me to learn how to properly use the C4 in Battlefield 4, which actually sticks to the walls and the ceilings, which one of my favorite things to do now is use C4. I used to be the Claymore King, and I used to run around with the Claymores, and as long as I had the triple Claymore, I was pretty much gold. But I've been having fun with the C4, especially when running into the locker, because you can't always set a Claymore down when there's like a squad of the other team sitting there gunning your team down. I managed to throw a C4 pack in the middle of like 5 of their guys last night when I was playing, and I detonated it, and I took them all out, and then one of their guys happened to not get caught in the crossfire and gunned me down. But yeah, so there's a lot of perks to either game. There's different gameplay styles, but yeah, so I mean, that kind of rounds out my video game news for this week. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment suggestion down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geek.